I'm recording. Hi guys. So this is the quarterfinals match between Gainsay playing Devote Control and Millennium 9999. He's playing mono green. Millennium wins the roll and we have both players starting with hands of 7. Notice Millennium no turn 1 play. That's going to be standard for his deck. He's going to hit Lana Morel 40% of the time with the play. 40 something. Probably like 45%, 46% of the time with the draw, which is not terrible, but it's pretty slow. He does get the Sylvan Ranger on turn 2, but that doesn't even accelerate him, it just wins him another forest. Do note that the 1/1 body isn't impressive, but with 3 copies of Overwhelming Stampede in the deck and big creatures, it's also not irrelevant. Leatherback Baloth runs into a mana leak from Gainsay, and he pretty much taps out for the turn. He doesn't have a white instant costing 1 in his deck. He taps out for the turn, and Millennium fails to do anything. So, whoa there. Let's think about what sort of hand Millennium could have kept that ends up doing that. So, I assume Green Sun Zenith in hand definitely goes for Dungrove Elder there. I feel like Thrun is going to be played by now. Maybe you hold a Thrun to play it with regeneration mana open for Day of Judgment, but I feel like that's just too slow. Obstinate Baloth definitely comes down. So his hand, unless he kept like 6 lands, Sylvan Ranger, has to have a Garruk, Acidic Slime, Overwhelming Stampede in it, pretty much. Or like Beast Withins and Dismembers, which are dead cards, almost. Yeah, pretty damn close to dead cards. Overall, it seems like perhaps a suspect keep, which did not develop at all. He does have Garruk though, and that meets one of the hard counters in Gainsay's deck. Gainsay does not have a lot of ways to deal with Garruk at all. Given what we know about Gainsay's deck, that it has no Oblivion Ring, and the first way it can deal with Garruk is Karn for 7, I don't know. I wonder if a different play was better than Garruk there, and try to get him to tap out first. Like, tap out for Elspeth, and then you play Garruk, and you should be in pretty good shape. We do have a Beast Within, which is hitting our own forest. Hitting Elspeth might be better, but overall this game just looks fairly lost for the green deck. Another Day of Judgment comes down, and we do get Elspeth with a second Beast Within. Yeah, overall the green deck just gets completely... Yeah, I feel like the green deck just gets completely brutalized by the blue-white deck once we get to the mid-game. So maybe you do just have to go for the like 1-drop, 3-drop plan, more so than the Green Sun Zenith sort of stuff, or at least do the Green Sun Zenith stuff better. Have more utility in the deck, have maybe more planeswalkers. But this just doesn't really seem like it's getting very far. Just cycling a Jace is interesting. And we get a Garruk down on the board. That's going to be really tough for Gainsay to deal with. That's probably the most powerful way for Millennium to curve out. And that's why I'm saying maybe you want even more planeswalkers against control decks if they're going to look like Gainsay's deck does. Anyway, notice that we're actually drawing cards with Garruk there, so getting miles ahead with draw 4, and get an Acidic Slime on a land. It's pretty close to all over for Gainsay here. The Garrick in play just changes the matchup extremely dramatically. He's able to kill it with Gideon. He's probably still just too far behind, unfortunately. Interesting that Millennium commits more power to the board. He already had 7 power on the board. Gainsay does play 4 copies of Day of Judgment, we know, because we've seen his deck. I guess Millennium did draw a bunch from that Garrick, so probably he has so much stuff in hand that he can afford to do that. Maybe it was better not to commit the Dungrove Elder, though. Maybe commit some smaller threat, because the Dungrove is going to keep getting better as the game goes on, whereas Llanowar Elves are going to stay 1/1 creatures. Just might have been a little better. Jace's Ingenuity apparently stays in the deck post-board. I'm sort of surprised by that. And we see that Day of Judgment is not actually a Wrath of God reprint. Creatures can regenerate, so Thrun keeps on attacking. Just committing more power to the board. I've seen this match before, so I know what happens, but notice that even with 4 power versus 3 life, committing that Baloth gets around Cannonade next turn, at least, seems like a sensible play. But probably not committing more than that Baloth, which would just run into Day of Judgments. And notice versus the Mana Leak, we leave 3 up. That's a play that is simple enough probably when you're piloting the deck, but I think it shows. It's like you have to have been playing Magic for a little while, understand the game a decent amount to know to not pay for the Mana Leak sometimes. And that's a situation where it's probably correct. Okay, so Millennium does eventually take game 2. And we saw the way he won was resolve the Planeswalker. That got him miles ahead on card advantage. Then he resolved Thrun, which just slowly wore down his opponent. He also cast a number of Acidic Slimes. It's hard to say how much those did without being able to see his opponent's hand. Certainly his opponent ended the game with 7 land, which lets him cast any card in his deck. So I don't know. Maybe Jiraga Tree Speaker into Acidic Slime could be a plan for his control. Or maybe, like I was saying, more Planeswalkers, Thruns, and Green Sun Zeniths for more diverse threats. I'd be interested in taking a look at all the green creatures in Standard just to see what sort of regenerating creatures there are as an option, for example. Game 3 starts poorly, as the green deck is on the draw, which means it's fairly often going to have no play until turn 3, and he's already looking at a Jace. Dungrove Elder comes down. Hold on. So turn 4, Jace chooses not to draw a card. That's interesting. That looks a lot like a mistake to me. And he Enter the Royals his own Jace. That's like his best play. This looks like an awkward and not very impressive hand from Gainsay. You have to assume here that he's holding Day of Judgment. Oh, I sort of hate that play. It's like close to 100% certainty that he's holding Day of Judgment here, and we're just casting Thrun. We have Sword of War and Peace, which we can throw on a Dungrove Elder, and like we're just killing him really soon, unless he wraths. So I don't know why we're adding that to the board. The day does come down. It seems so obvious given the line of play so far that day was in his hand. And yes, I have watched these matches before, but I didn't remember that. It just seemed like it seemed close to certain, you know. Anyway, things are going pretty poorly at this point. We do get Garrick, who can make us a beast, but not a whole lot more. Gainsay gets the Caustic Toxin Probes, who knows exactly what he needs to or doesn't need to play around. And yeah, Garrick decides to switch teams, which probably if I was a card in Millennium's deck at this point, I would be considering that too. Acidic Slime gets a little bit more going, but yeah, another day and Karn exiles that Garrick. Notice, however, that the blue-white deck, lacking a great way to draw card advantage, is actually only equal on cards here. Tons of lands, which is going to happen on blue-white control deck. You're going to draw more lands than your opponent. We do have a Colonnade, which is very relevant. And we do have the Karn on board, but the Karn is the only saving grace for blue-white here. Just a Colonnade trade. It's pretty disappointing that the best we can do post-board is to leave an Obstinate Baloth against blue-white control. I feel like if you want to beat the good decks in the top 8, you need a better plan than Obstinate Baloth against blue-white control. Because, like I said, 4 of the decks in the top 8 were blue-white control, and that was not unexpected, I don't feel. Gainsay, it looks like he's digging for a Day of Judgment, and unable to find it, so we actually untap with Thrun, and then tap out into Mana Leak. Also, we were attacking card. I mean, I guess the game was lost, but it seemed a lot there like we were hoping that the other guy had 0 cards, which is maybe what we have to do. Notice how cool it is that you can have each player draw a card with Jace and then exile the card just drawn using Karn. It's just a brutal Planeswalker combo. If I were Gainsay, I would be totally playing... Oh. Hold on. Let's go back to the end situation. We can't? Anyway, what I was going to say is, if I was Gainsay, I would totally be playing for the Karn sub-game here. Get to restart a game with all those cards in play? Are you kidding? Unfortunately, Millennium scoops it up too soon. And he says, did the bets here best. Which I assume means that he feels like he played as well as he could. I feel like the Thrun into Day of Judgment was really bad. But I didn't see any plays that I thought were clearly awful otherwise. Yeah. I feel like the green deck has a lot of room for improvement, and maybe it's the way to be testing towards if you wanna. But on the other hand, I feel like a lot of people are going to be playing it now, and I'm not sure that it deals very well with people being prepared for it. Gaia's Revenge, by the way. That's a green card. Costs 7, but if you're playing like Jiraga Treespeaker, 7 is pretty doable. And if you have Greenstone Zenith, that can be a one-off. I would be main decking that, I'm pretty sure. Plus it has 8 power, and you play Overwhelming Stampede. Overwhelming Stampede, by the way, maybe not good enough versus control. Versus these control decks, I feel like you want to be aimed more towards attrition war winning, because you actually can, versus the way people are building control decks right now. Although Karn is scary. Anyway, yeah, I thought that was a really interesting matchup with a lot to think about on both sides. So, hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to head on to the third game of the quarters now.